We're here to talk to you briefly about what's going on with the Dr. Pol feedline. The Pol family's hit show The Incredible Dr. Pol has won the hearts of millions of people around the world. The show shows what happens every day at a veterinary office in the country. Behind the cameras, though, the family has won over millions of fans with their hit show, The Incredible Dr. Pol. The show shows what a rural veterinary office does every day and airs in living rooms all over the world. But behind the scenes, the family has had problems that most fans didn't know about. Charles Pol and his family will always remember one story in particular. Something that changed their lives for good. Welcome to a closer look at the Pol family's side that hasn't been told before. These are the times that show how strong, resilient, and heartbroken they are. Unusual youth for a veterinarian. On March 6, 1979, Charles Pol was born in the middle of Michigan. Jan Pol and Diane Pol took him in when he was a baby. From the start, he was a very loved part of the Pol family. They never thought of adoption as strange in their home. That was just part of their song story. Jan and Diane's actions showed that love, commitment, and sharing a life are more important than genes when it comes to making a family. These things meant that Charles could grow up in a safe and wanted home. His parents were honest and open about the fact that they had adopted him. That honesty built trust and security in the music. He always knew where he fit in. At the same time, he grew up in a very strange family. There were animals everywhere. The family's animal hospital was an everyday part of life. Patients like cows, pigs, dogs, cats, and, music, horses were not far away. They were always with each other. Anyone could call at any time to say that their animal is sick. People often told stories from the clinic at dinner. Charles knew from a very young age that taking care of animals wasn't just his dad's job. It was how the family lived. As a child, I was constantly exposed to veterinary treatment in the country. Charles thought that surgeries, after-hours farm calls, and long workdays were all normal parts of life. Other kids might have had normal things to do after school, but he, Snorts, often helped out at the clinic or went on farm visits with them. At first, he did small jobs like holding tools, cleaning music rooms, and leading animals. But even these duties taught him how to be responsible. Life on the farm was busy and hard to plan. Pets didn't follow the clock, and problems didn't wait. He learned to change quickly because he was always moving. He didn't find the noise, the early mornings, or the long days to be too much. They were just normal. That setting helped them become strong and funny over time. It became second nature to stay calm in the face of chaos. Dr. Pol was known for having a lot of energy and being honest. He worked a lot of hours and rarely took a break. Charles saw this every day. Music, he saw how discipline worked. He saw a way to help people. He saw people who never seemed to get tired. Charles learned these values even though he didn't have any official lessons. You were supposed to work hard. Being responsible came first. Being there was important. Being the son of the vet's boss sometimes put pressure on me. All over, people knew who his dad was. Then came expectations. But pride came with the stress. His father changed people's lives, and he saw it for himself. This one-of-a-kind childhood would shape the unexpected musical road Charles would take next. Dreams outside the barn. Charles Pol slowly became aware that his interests were taking him in a different way as he grew up in a family that was very interested in veterinary medicine. However, Charles always liked being entertained, even though he admired the work his father did every day. He liked telling stories and making people laugh, especially about life on the farm. When his family got together, he would often tell funny stories about the clinic or play out music events in a way that kept everyone's attention. Friends saw that he was at ease talking in front of other people and could easily keep their attention. Charles was interested in art and creativity, which was different from the real medical focus needed in veterinary work. In everyday life, he didn't just see tasks, he saw stories ready to be told. His dreams changed over time because of this difference in how he saw the world. As Charles got older, he had a problem inside himself. As his father did, a lot of people thought he would become a doctor. People looked up to the Pol name, and it wasn't easy to decide to go in a different direction. He knew how important the job was, but he also knew that his skills and interests were better used elsewhere. It took honesty and guts to accept that music, truth. Charles decided to focus on what really drove him in music instead of feeling like he had to meet other people's expectations. His parents, Jan P. and Diane Pol, agreed with his choice. No matter what area they were in, they believed in following their passion and working hard. Their support gave him the strength to go after a career other than veterinary medicine without feeling guilty or afraid. Charles took a big step toward that future when he went to the University of Miami to study media after high school. It was a big change to go from living in a rural area of Michigan to a busy, diverse university. It moved faster, the people were different, and there seemed to be a lot of chances. He learned about new people, ideas, and ways to think about media. His classes taught him about telling stories, making material, and how people connect with it. He was able to get better at what he did and shape his natural creativity into something more organized and useful during these years. Charles wasn't aware of it at the time, but he was laying the groundwork for a job that would lead him back to his family. This time, through the screen of a TV. Just when it looked like he was on the right track, something out of the blue would take him even farther from the barn and closer to the center. Hollywood school years. Charles Pol did something brave after he graduated from college. He went to Los Angeles to try to make it as an actor. He had to leave his family, the farm, and the steady rhythm of life in the country when he left Michigan. It was fast, crowded, and very intense in Los Angeles. There were many skilled people in the entertainment business, and they all had the same goals. For someone who grew up in a small place, the change was big. There was no promise. There were no clear paths, and you had to keep going until you got there. In the beginning, there was real trouble. Starting out in Hollywood often means some days were spent doing paperwork, setting up tools, or running errands. On other days, it meant sitting quietly and watching seasoned professionals solve difficult production issues. These early events were not exciting, but they were necessary. They told him the truth about how hard the business could be. One of the best things about this time was getting to work with well-known pros. Charles did an internship with Sidney Pollack, a well-known director and producer for telling great stories and being a good leader. Charles was able to see how high-level shows were put together by being in that setting. He saw how creative thoughts were turned into well-thought-out plans. In order to bring a story to life, he saw how directors talked to actors and crew people, music. He also worked with Edward James, which gave him more experience with professional filmmaking. He learned how important it is to be prepared and follow through by watching skilled actors and directors work. Not only did he learn how to come up with creative ideas, but he also learned how to use timing, organization, and work with others to tell a story. A lot of different teams had to work together on the production, from sound and lighting to editing and scheduling. It was all about the details. Charles learned a lot about how to run a show by doing these internships. He knew that hard deadlines and limited funds meant that careful planning was needed, that delays could cost money, and that mistakes could throw off whole plans. He learned how the speed of a story affects the interest of listeners in music. To keep people interested, a story needs to move at the right speed. Clear and steady building of tension or feeling is needed in scenes. These lessons were useful and technical in terms of music, and they helped him learn the trade better. Charles learned skills that would later be important to his work over time. It became second nature to handle tight output schedules. He learned how to set priorities, get things done quickly, and keep calm when things got tough. He started to understand what people watch and how they think about it. Most importantly, he became more comfortable in front of the camera. He no longer felt like a stranger trying to get in. He was ready, and soon he would find out that the most powerful story he could tell had been waiting for him at home the whole time. Making a big deal out of television. As Charles Pol worked in Hollywood for years, he began to see his own childhood in a new way. What seemed normal at first now looked very different. Rural veterinary care wasn't shown on TV very often, but when it was full of real emotion, urgency, and deep human connections. He saw that the work that was being done every day at the clinic where his family worked had all the makings of a good story. Farmers needed to make quick choices. The center was trusted by families with their beloved pets. Emergencies happened out of the blue. This was not a planned play. It was based on real events, and Charles thought that people would relate to how honest it was. He also knew that his dad, Pol, was naturally good on TV. Dr. Pol was sure of himself, honest, and really cared about taking care of animals. He was honest and worked hard all the time. Not changing who he was for TV didn't need to happen. It only needed to be caught the way it was. Charles saw that his dad's hard work and honest way of doing things could appeal to people who want to see something real. Charles told National Geographic Wild about the idea with a clear picture in his mind.